Well, automakers led by Ford saw big sales gains in May as price cuts and shedding inventories blunted the effect of President Trump's auto tariffs. For more on the latest numbers and the state of the auto industry, let's welcome in here Kevin Roberts, CarGurus Director of Economic and Market Intelligence. Kevin, always good to see you. So, auto sales for May, Kevin, just looking, nice sales gains. I'm looking at Ford. Sales jumped about 16%, Kevin. Truck sales strong, hybrid strong, EV not great. Toyota looks like an increase of about 7% in May. We heard from Hyundai and Kia as well. Just broadly, when you looked over that data, Kevin, how would you characterize it? What did you make of it?
Yeah, it was, I would say, a return to normal. So I like to say the end of March, early April was kind of a crazy time for the auto industry when the tariffs were first announced. May was a little bit more back to normal, traditionally a really strong kind of sales month for the industry. End of tax season, we have late Memorial Day sales. So that's been really kind of helpful for the industry. And you mentioned it, several automakers really had some strong months. A couple things I think really kind of helped there. Ford had their employee pricing for all. Vehicle affordability has been a trend we've really been highlighting for a while now. So I think that kind of discounts really kind of helped drive sales there. And then you mentioned hybrids. That's one that helped for both Ford and Toyota. Hybrid sales continue to see really strong growth. Consumers really like hybrids, and Ford and particularly Toyota are really dominant in hybrid powertrains, which is helping to drive sales.
Do you think we saw some pull forward in those numbers too, though, Kevin? Folks trying to get ahead of tariffs?
That is the million-dollar question for the auto industry right now. How much, if we did see pull ahead, how much did we see pull ahead, and where might that start to bite back? Was that kind of Q2 sales towards the end of the quarter that we pulled that from, or was it later in the year? It's really an unknown at this point. Did we just kind of shake people off the sidelines who, weren't in the market, or did we kind of pull ahead a lot of volume in those kind of crazy weeks after the tariffs were announced? And it's a major unknown for the industry right now.
Kevin, tariffs in place. So do you think these automakers, do they maintain pricing, Kevin, or would you expect starting here in June, perhaps, we're going to see prices start rising?
Yeah, so we've been monitoring what's been happening to average list price of vehicles on the site. Somewhat surprised that we haven't seen large shifts to this point. However, like you said, a lot of automakers, I think, were kind of in a wait and see approach after the tariffs were announced. And we're starting to see a trickle of some announcements of price increases as we get into June. And that's going to be a trend we kind of monitor to see if that continues and if we start to see some of that expected price inflation for vehicles as we move into the second half of the year.
What did you make of the reaction in some names this week, Kevin? Ford, GM, for example, moving lower as Trump talked tough on steel tariffs.
Yeah, so it's a little bit of a different situation than if we would have talked a month or two ago. We had another executive order signed towards the end of April, which gave hierarchy to stop stacking of a number of tariffs. And so that should stop Section 232 auto tariffs from being stacked with those steel and aluminum tariffs. So there is some protection for the auto industry. Now, it's important to keep in mind that that kind of protection only exists for finished vehicles and parts covered in those tariffs specifically. So for parts not covered there, we could see an impact there. And I think that's what that kind of risk is where you're seeing that shift this week.
And by the way, I just see a breaking news headline here. According to the White House, UK steel tariffs, they're going to remain at 25% for now. Lastly, Kevin, on Tesla, I want your views there. There, we did get some numbers this week. Broadly, weak sales for Tesla in Europe. What do you make of that, Kevin? Is that branding? Is that, the Model Y changeover? Is that more competition for Musk over there? Is it all three?
So Tesla is a direct-to-consumer automaker, so we don't get their data in our listing data, so a little bit difficult to say there. What I can say from the used side of the market, even with all the noise around Tesla recently, still seems pretty strong demand for used Teslas out in the marketplace. So can't comment as much on the new side of the market, but used side still sees strong interest for used Teslas.
Interesting. Kevin, always great to have you on the show. Thanks so much for your time.
My pleasure.